This conference will now be recorded.
So in last session, we were discussing about image related commands, and we were trying to Dockerize some applications also in the last session. And I have given one assignment, creating a Jenkins pipeline to build and deploy that application as a container. Is everyone done that assignment? I see good amount of number, but not everyone. I see approximately 20, I think 20 to 25 people has done that assignment. And what about rest of the others? I see like approximately 25 people or 30 people has done the assignment. What about rest of the others? I no need to repeat this again and again. Assignments and practice is very, very important along with attending the classes. I really appreciate you guys are consistently attending the classes. At the same time, it is more important to do the practice and also doing the assignments. So make sure you are spending some time for doing the practice as well as assignments also. But for the people who are not at all attending, I cannot say anything. First of all, they are not attending the sessions. They don't know what is Docker, why Docker. So they already I left those guys because they don't know what is Docker. They cannot do whatever assignments I give. For you, at least do the assignments also. That is very important. Now let's continue with again image related commands. We will focus on the commands today also because this is also important to deal with images, to deal with containers. Do you need to know the commands, how to deal with images, how to deal with containers? You need to know the commands. To make it simple, to deal with the Linux servers, did you guys learn Linux commands and what different types of Linux commands to deal with Linux operating system? Similarly, you need to understand image related commands, container related commands to deal with the Docker images and containers. As I already told, this is the command to build image. We already discussed all these commands. What this command does? What this command does? All images, all images available locally. Okay. Now we discussed about this. We discussed about this. Push, pull, and we discussed about this. What this command does? It is going to log in with registry. Log into the registry. Don't say Docker Hub. Can I log in with, can I authenticate with any registry, not only Docker Hub, like Nexus, JFrog, or ECR, GCR, anything? Yes. So this is for authenticating. What about this? What about this? This is to get more details about more details about image. More details about image. This is to understand more details about image. Now we have a few more comments like this. Image related I am talking about. Now how can I remove the image locally? How can I remove the image locally? I want to delete the image. I want to delete the image. So docker rmi. Docker rmi. So what this docker rmi does? It is going to remove the image. Whatever image you want to remove. If I want to remove multiple images, can I do something like this? Docker rmi, that image id space space one more image tagger id, like this. Can I remove multiple images like this also if required? Yes. This docker rmi star will not work. The docker rmi star will not work. It is not going to work like that. If you let me show you. Let me connect to some server where I have a docker installed. Let me connect to this server where I have a docker installed. Let me connect to that server where I have a docker installed. Now I can see all the images, docker images like this, or docker image ls like this. Both are same. Now if I want to delete all the images, I can execute. If I want to delete a specific image, can I use something like this? This image id or image tag like this. Who is going to assign the IDs? If I want to delete multiple images, I can give like this. Using IDs also I can delete, or using this image tags also like this. Again something like this. This is one image. Can I delete images like this using image tags or IDs, multiple images also? Yes. There is a one more command. If I want to delete all the images, docker rmi dollar docker images hyphen q. So what this images hyphen q will return? So docker images, what it is returning, guys? If I just execute docker images, what it is returning? Docker images or image ls. List of all the images, including list of all the images. Guys, images is different. Someone is saying not running. What is the meaning of not running here? Image is different, container is different. So docker images will return the images. List of all the images here. Now, if I use Q option, what is, one second, docker images hyphen Q. So what it is returning? Docker images hyphen Q is what it is returning. If you understand difference between docker images and images hyphen Q, only IDs, only IDs. Now can I use something like this? Docker RMI dollar docker images hyphen Q. So is this going to return all the IDs of the images which I am passing it to RMI? So will it delete all the images if I execute like this? Sir, why do we need to delete images first of all? So just to understand the commands, guys, sometimes in the interview they'll ask these type of questions. So don't try all these things in your actual servers. So since Balaji sir has explained all these commands, let me execute all these commands in my production Docker servers. Don't do all these things. This is just to understanding. But if you have such type of requirement to delete all these images, then can you go and use this command if you have a requirement? then you can do this. Don't unnecessarily, since I am sharing some running nodes, don't blindly execute all those instructions in your actual servers if you get into a project. So sometimes in the interview they are asking this question, so we are just discussing all these things here. So if I execute like this, is it going to delete all the images? Yes. Now this is also sometimes asked in the interview. Can we delete? What is dollar? That is interpolation. So if I directly do like this, it won't return. So that is interpolation in this command. This is, can we delete image if there is a container created or running out of that image? So this is one question. Can we delete image if there is a container created or running out of that image? No, we cannot delete image if there is a container created or running out of that image. If there is a container running out of that image, do I need to first delete the container to delete the image? Yes. Now let me show here. This is my build server. Do I have any containers? I just have one container. Let me, okay, leave this one. Leave this container. Basically, I just created one container for testing something here. Now this container is created out of this image, this test one image. Now can I delete this container? Sorry, can I delete this image because there is a container running like this? If I do, no, it won't be possible. Now, if I delete this container first, what is this docker rm? What is this docker rm does? Difference between rm and rmi? Docker rm, what it is going to do? It is going to remove the container. What is this -f option? What is this -f option? Forcefully. Because is my container is in running state? Is my container is running state? Yes. If I don't use this -f, if I don't use this -f, I can use container ID or name. I can use container ID or name like this. I can use container ID or name like this. Now, since container is in running state, am I able to remove the container without force? No. In that case, do I need to execute this stop command, docker stop that container? Then I need to remove? Yes. Instead of doing this, can I do this forcefully? It will remove the container like this. Now, if this container is deleted, then I can delete that image. Now, I don't have any containers running in this server because this is just a build server. Now, can I remove all these images by executing this command? Something like this. Something like this. So what is this -f? I can use -f also here, kind of a force removal only. But even though I use force removal of image, if there is any image, there is a container for that image. Is that image will be deleted even though I use force removal for the image? No. So now if I execute this command, is all the images got deleted locally in this server? Now if I execute docker images, can I see any images in this server locally? No. So we can use this one, docker rmi, forcefully. I hope you already know all these things. If required, can I create a image, or if required, can I pull the image? Image is already there in the registry. I don't want to build the image again. If required, can I pull that image? I don't want to build. Image is already there in the registry. Can I pull that image using Docker pull? Yes. Otherwise, if required, can you build the image from your code? Let's say this is my application. This is my application. I will go inside that application. I have a Docker file. I hope I have this target folder also now. Yes. Now, if required, I can build the image like this. I can build the image like this. If this image is already there in the registry, same image is already there in the registry. Instead of building this one, can I pull that image from the registry if required using Docker pull? Yes. Now I am building this image, so I don't have this base image locally. This is the base image I used for that image. This base image is not there locally. Is it pulling that base image from the registry first to create our own image? Now I build this image. I see two images here. Why? Why I see two images? What is this image? Is it a base image for our own image? It's a base image for our own image. And if you see the difference, between this image size and this image size, this image is 493, this image is 498. What is there? That additional 5 MB application code, that var file. So if you see, I am just building image. What is this? Like it is saying pulling this, pulling this. It is just only one base image. What is this pulling this like this? When I push also, it will say like pushing this. So these are the layers of the image. Image is basically consist of multiple layers. So the Docker file instruction, each Docker file instruction will create one layer that we will discuss later. Now there are lot of layers out of this image. So where exactly all these layers is stored locally in this one? It is part of varlib docker. Image information is being maintained in the image folder, and that layers, all those layers will be maintained in some folder called overlay 2. So how can I see? This is also very important question. How can we see the layers of image? See or list. How can I list the layers of specific image? So there is one command called docker history. Docker history image id or tag. If I inspect also, you can see. If you inspect also, you can see docker inspect image also you can see. But if I execute this command, I can see more layers, the layers of that image. So this is my image. Let's say, can I use this image ID if I want to see the layers of that image? Or can I use this tag also? Something like this. Yes. Now, what are these things, guys? What are all these things? When I execute docker history, that image, what are all these things? I can see these many entries. These are the layers of this image. So this is very, from where all these layers are coming? These layers, whatever I have highlighted, from where these layers are coming. Whatever I have highlighted, from where these layers are coming, is these layers are coming from that base image? Is these layers are coming from that base image? Yes. So base image. So these are the layers of that base image. If you see, you might be having in this layer, in this 123 MB inside, you might be having some libraries to interact with kernel. In this 499 MB, in this 449 MB, there might be Java software being installed or configured in this layer. Maybe in this layer, Tomcat is downloaded in this 13 MB size. So does all these layers makes an image? So do you have a respective softwares libraries required as part of these layers? So these are the layers from the base image. What is there in this top layer 5.34 MB? What did we done this in the top layer? So this top layer, this one, did we copy this var file? Did we copy this var file to that image? So if you see, I am inspecting this Tomcat base image layers. So these are the layers from the base image, and we created our own image using that base image. Now, if I use this image, do I have a Tomcat software plus Java software along with container libraries and my application code in this image? In this image, yes. But if I directly create a container out of this image, the base image, will I have my application code up and running? If I directly create a container out of this base image, will I have my application? No, only Tomcat. So if I create a container out of this image, wherever I push this image and create a container, will I have the application code along with required softwares and configurations? Yes. So is everyone clear how to see the layers or how to list the layers of a specific image? Sometimes in the interview also they'll ask. So docker history command. Now whenever I am pushing this image in the background, is it pushing all those layers to the registry? When I am pushing that image in the background, is it pushing all the layers of that image to the registry? So if you see, what is this? Preparing, pushing, all those things. It is just pushing all the layers of that image, all the layers of that image. Whenever I am pulling also, is it pulling all those layers to the server wherever I am pulling that image to create a container? Yes. So this is how it works. Now, as I already told, if there is a running container or if there is a container created out of any image, will I able to delete that image without deleting container? No. So let me show that. Maybe let me connect to this server. Let me connect to this server, your deployment server. In your deployment server, did you pull image to create a container? Even though you have not pulled intentionally, when you executed docker run, is this images pulled to this server? When you executed docker run, is this images pulled to this server? Yes. Now this container is running out of this image. This image. This container is running out of this image. So now in this server, can I delete this image? Now if you see, when I am executing docker RMI using image ID, am I able to delete that image? No. Even though I use -f, even though I use -f, am I able to delete that image? No, because there is a container. There is a container for that image. Now, these images can be deleted using these image IDs or tags also. Now I am using tag. I am using tag. What it is saying, guys? Instead of ID, I am using tag. What it is saying? Is it saying one container is being reference that image? Now, if I use -f with the tag, with image tag, I am using -f. I got something like this. Does it mean is your image is deleted? Does it mean is your image is deleted? I got output like this. Does it mean is your image is deleted? Then what happened? Image is not deleted. What happened? It has just untagged that image with that repository reference. Image is not deleted. Image is still there. Can I see that image still there? But what it has done? What it has done, if you see, when I use that image tag with RMI, what it has done, if you see, it has just removed the repository reference. It has removed the repository reference. So if there is a running container, will I able to remove the image forcefully, whether using image ID or image tag? Will I able to remove forcefully? Also, no. But when I am using image tag, what it has done actually, what Docker has done actually, because there is a running container for that image, it has just removed the tags. It has only removed the tag, untagged. Sometimes in the interview also they are asking this question. What is a dangling image? Did you guys, if you are already attended interviews or your friends or someone might have already attended, they might have faced this question. Did anyone got this question if you are already attended maybe interviews? So sometimes in the interview they are asking this question, what is dangling images? Now what is dangling image? What is dangling image? So a dangling image is an image without any repository reference. Dangling image is an image without any repository reference. An image without a repository reference, basically without a tag, is called as dangling image. Now, can I call this image, the highlighted image, as a dangling image now? Yes. Now, that is dangling image. Now there is a container running. So I was not able to delete that image. If I use IDs, will I able to forcefully remove again? Because there is a container running for that image. IDs forcefully you cannot do. But you are using tag. Then it is becoming a dangling image. It is removing that reference. Now how to list only dangling images? I want to list only dangling images. When I execute Docker images, is it listing all the images? Yes. I want to list only dangling images. Docker images -f dangling equals to true. So what is this -f when it comes to images command? Is it a force? Is it a filter? When -fs, -fs comes here, is it a force? Is it a filter? It's a filter. Now when I execute this command, am I able to see only dangling images because of this option? Dangling equals to true -f filter option. If I don't use this filter option, am I able to see all the images? Whatever is there in that server locally? Yes. Now dangling like this. Sometimes in the interview, they are going to ask how to delete only dangling images. How to delete only dangling images. I don't want to delete other images where we have an image with tags. I want to delete only dangling images. How can you do that? I want to delete only dangling images. If there is a container for the dangling image, that image will not be deleted. But let's assume I don't have a container for the dangling image. I want to delete all the dangling images, only dangling images. How can I do that? You can guess. I want to delete only dangling images. Mamata is saying RM. RM will delete the containers. Docker RM-f dangling. No. So whatever answer provided by Sujana somewhat matched, but still Sujana provided this command, but still there is something needs to be done there. So what needs to be done? Sujana provided this one. What needs to be done here? Do I need to use -q option here? Because if I don't use this -q, is it going to return results like this? Like this? Everything. But do I need IDs? Do I need IDs only? Something like this. If I do, is it going to delete only dangling images? Provided if there is no running container. But if there is a running container, is the dangling image will be deleted again? No. But if there is no running container for that dangling image, does this command will delete all the dangling images? Yes. And there is one more option. There is one more option, Docker image prune. Docker image prune. These prune commands. There is a commands like this. Docker system prune, Docker image prune, Docker image prune, Docker container prune, Docker network prune, Docker volume prune. Like this, we have prune commands. I can use this prune command also. If I execute this Docker system prune, what it does? Let me show you. Docker system prune. So what it is going to do? It is giving a warning. So when I execute this Docker system prune, it is giving a warning saying that what it is going to delete. This system prune will remove what? All stopped containers, all dangling images and its build cache, and all networks which is not used by at least one container. Docker networks. We will discuss what is Docker network later. If I execute this Docker system prune, it is going to delete all stopped containers, dangling images and its build cache. But if there is a running container for the dangling image, is it going to delete the dangling image again? No. So if I execute like this, nothing is removed. Even though there is a dangling image, why that is not deleted, the dangling image? Because Do we have a running container? Do we have a container for the dangling image? Yes. Now similarly, you can execute docker image prune. What this image prune does? What this image prune does? If I execute only this image prune instead of system prune, what it does? If I execute image prune, what it is going to delete? Is it going to delete all the images or only dangling images? Is it going to delete all the images or only dangling images? It is going to delete all dangling images, all dangling images. So suppose if I have 10 dangling images, is it going to delete all those 10 dangling images? Provided there is no running container. If there is a running container for the dangling image again, is that image will be deleted? No. So this is what this image prune does. This is what this image prune does. What this container prune does, the moment if I execute this container prune, what this container prune does? One second. What this container prune does? Is it going to delete all the containers or stopped containers? Is it going to delete all the containers or all stopped containers? All stopped containers. Similarly, we have a network prune. Similarly, we have a network prune. So what is Docker network? We will discuss later. So in the Docker also there is a networking concept. In the containers also there is a networking concept. So we will discuss this later. So if I execute network prune, it is going to delete custom networks not used by any container. It is going to remove all the custom Docker networks which is not used by any container. This volume prune. What this volume prune does? It is going to delete volumes. What is volume? Why do we need volume? We will discuss slowly. It is going to delete all the local volumes not used by at least one container. But these volumes are very, very important, guys. These volumes are very, very important. Volumes are nothing but data. Volumes are nothing but data. Even though I delete image, will I able to again get that image maybe created from the code, or can I get that image again from the registry? If I have that image in the registry, even though I delete image, will I able to get the image back? Yes. If I delete my container, will I able to create my container again if I have an image locally or in the registry? Yes. Even though I delete network, will I able to create my network again, Docker network again if required? Yes. But this volume is nothing but a data. Network is different. Network is not created using image. Network is not created using image. I will explain network later. Container is created using image, not the network. Even though network is deleted, we can create a network again. This volume is nothing but a data, your storage, the data of your container. So if you delete your volume, which means you are deleting your data, will you able to recover your data again if you delete the value? Unless until you have a backup, will you able to recover that data if you are deleting your value? Unless until you have a backup, you can't do that. So don't execute this volume prune commands. Since Balaji sir has explained all these commands, let me try all these commands. Understand what is what, then you do that. Just since I'm giving running notes like this, don't execute this one, just for understanding this one in actual servers. So this volume prune is very important. You should not execute this one unless until you have a clear instructions to delete the volumes. So what is volume? Why do we need volume? What is network? Why do we need network? These things we will understand slowly. We are still discussing what? We are still discussing image and container. Once you are familiar with this image and container, then we will understand what is Docker network, what is Docker volume, why do we need all these things, we will slowly understand. So these prune commands, is everyone clear? What is this system prune, image prune, container prune, network prune? Sir, why do I need to use these prune commands? Suppose you have lot of unnecessary images, unused images, and you have lot of stopped containers. Is those unused images, is those stopped containers will take some storage from your server, your host, where you have a Docker installed? Is it going to maintain those? Because your working directory, what is your Docker working directory? This varlib Docker. Is it maintaining the image layers in this? Is it maintaining containers also, containers data also in that working directory like this? Suppose I have lot of stopped containers, unused images. So this is mounted with some storage. Will it run out of that? Suppose this is mounted with some disk, that can be root disk or that can be additional disk. Will it run out of the storage unnecessarily? So to clean up that unnecessary storage, to clean up unnecessary images and stopped containers, can I use this prune commands? Let's consider now this is mounted with some disk, that is mounted with some disk that is just having 10 GB capacity. Will you able to create images containers if you are almost utilize 99%, 99.9%, let's say your disk utilization is already 99%. This working directory is mounted with some disk. This working directory is mounted with the disk. The disk capacity is 10 GB. You are already reached 90% or 95%. Will I able to build more images? Will I able to create more containers? Because does this directory need some storage to maintain the layers of that image, temporary files of that container? Yes. So one option, remove unnecessary images which you are not at all using. Then you will have some storage. Otherwise, do I need to increase the capacity of this disk? This is mounted with some disk. Do I need to increase the capacity of the disk if required? Yes. Now by default, this is mounted with which which EBS volume in AWS now? That is part of your root only. That is part of your root only. So is this varlib directory, this varlib docker is mounted with any additional disk or additional volume as of now? No. So it is part of root only. Sir, do I really need to mount this varlib docker with additional volumes? Not required. Not required. It can be part of root itself. But if you understand one thing is related to other, if you don't know what is storage, why it will not work, do you need to understand all these concepts, why I am not able to build the images? Anytime you observe this error, no space left on the device. What does it mean, guys? No space left on the device. This type of error you may get in Jenkins, you may get in any other software also, like Docker. So what does it mean? No space left on the device. This error, if you get, what does it mean? Disk is full. Disk is full. If you understand the concept, it is very simple. But if you are by heart, then you don't know what is this, how to fix this, all those things. So is everyone clear what is that prune command? For what purpose that prune commands can be used? Okay. Now I have a dangling image. I have a dangling image now. In this server, I have a dangling image. Can I tag this image again? I don't want to build the image again. Can I tag this existing image again with some repository? Can I tag this image again with some repository? But do I need to do this? Do I need to execute Docker build if I want to tag the image? I don't want to build the image. Image is already there. I just want to tag the image. So do I need to execute this Docker build command if I want to tag again? Do I need to use this command? No. This is going to build the image. It is going to build and tag. It is going to build and tag. But I already have an image. I don't want to build. I just want to tag. Is there any command which I can use to just tag the image? Yes. That is docker tag command. Docker tag command. So this is my existing image ID or tag. Can I tag with like this? Something like this. This is existing image, that image ID or tag. Can I tag with new registry again using this docker tag command? Yes. Something like this. Docker tag. So I don't have any repository reference. Can I use this image ID like this? I want to tag this image. Something like this, any registry. Something like this. So I want to tag this image with this tag. Now when I done this, do you see is that image is tagged again with whatever tag I used? So can I call this as a dangling image anymore now? Can I call this as a dangling image anymore now? No. If you execute Docker images -f dangling equals to true, can I see any dangling image now because of this tag? No. Now, can I tag one image with multiple registries? Sometimes in the interview also they are asking, can I tag one image with multiple registries? Yes. How can I do that? Now, I want to tag same image with another registry. Can I tag like this? The other registry, that can be ECR, GCR, whatever it is, or Nexus. Can I tag with another registry also if required? Sometimes in the interview also they are asking. So if I want to tag with this one, just to give an example, not that one. Let's say I want to tag this image with this registry also, something like this. Now, do you see? If you logically think, do I really have a three images? Do I really have a three images here? Or two images with or two images? I have only two images. If you see, both images, is ID is same. For these two images, is ID is same. But is this image tagged with this registry as well as this registry? Yes. Now, if I execute this Docker push, if I execute a Docker push using this tag, is it going to push all the layers of this image to this registry ECR? Yes. If I execute Docker push on this one, is it going to push the layers of that image to the Docker Hub registry? If I execute Docker push on this one? Yes. Now, like this, if required, Can I tag image with multiple registries like this? Sometimes in the interview also they are asking using this docker tag command or docker build command also. Using docker build command also. Just to give an example, let me show you. This is my deployment server, right? Let me go to my build server. So I have build like this, docker build like this. Now one more time I can execute docker build. One more time I can execute docker build like this. You can use build also. But if you think logically, is it building the same image again? Because image is already there, no changes in that image layers. Is it building that image again? Again, no, same image, same image. You see image is being built, but same image tagged here. Can I see same image tagged with the two registries like this? Same image tagged with two registries. So which means, can I build or can I tag one image with multiple registries like this using docker tag command or build command, whatever it is? Yes. Sometimes in the interview they're asking. Is everyone clear what is this docker tag command now? Now, as I already told, if I want to see more details about image, that can be in any server. If I want to see more details about your image, can I use this command, inspect command, using that image ID or name? I can use this one also or this one also. Now, these are the layers of that image, environment variables of that image, when that image is created, and with how many registries it is tagged. When I am inspecting that image, with how many registries that image is tagged, you can see here. Two registries. Okay. That is how this tag works. Now, let me explain few more image related comments. Sometimes in the interview also they are asking this question. Sometimes in the interview also they are asking this question. Let me, guys, questions can come in any manner, which means they can directly ask the question, what is what? Or they may ask, this is my use case. How do you do that? So if you by heart, you cannot answer in those scenarios. They may directly ask, what is what? They may ask, what is Docker tag? Or they may ask, I have a dangling image, I want to tag that image again. Or is, I have one image already tagged with some repository. I want to tag that image with another repository again. How do you do? Both are same. You guys will be able to explain if they ask what is Docker tag. You guys will be able to explain if they ask what is Docker tag. But if they are ask in a different way, if they ask in a different way, I already have one image in the Docker that is tagged with some registry, and I want to tag that image with another registry. How do you do that? You may think, sir, they are asking some real-time questions, because people are coming to me, sir, they are asking real-time questions. When I asked what is the question they asked, they will say something like this. The problem comes if you by heart something without understanding the concept. If you understand the concept, that real time question, whatever you are saying, right, that is not real time question, that is one requirement. That can be any requirement. So if you have that type of requirement, how do you do? That is what they are asking. But if they are asking same question, what is Docker tag, non-stop you guys are able to explain 2-3 minutes on Docker tag. But if they ask indirectly, you are silent in the interview. That is because you are not understanding the concept, you are just by hearting the commands or something like that. So is both are same? Whatever I asked in simple, what is Docker tag? same. And they asked one scenario, same. Answer is same. So that's why understand the concept, practice more, and understand the concept so that you can be clear in the interviews also. Now, similarly, they are asking one more question. Sometimes this is one of my Docker server. I have one server. Here I have a Docker. Here I have Docker. I have some operating system on top of that OS. I have a Docker. And I have an image created in this server. I have my Docker image created in this server. So this is my Docker image. I have my image created in this server. Now there is a one more server. There is a one more server, one more Docker server, let's say. How you can move this image? How you can move this image from this server to another Docker server? Let's consider this can be any server. Let's consider this is your Jenkins server or any other server. You have image in this server. Now how you can move that image from this server to another server? This server can be any other server, like a deployment server. Now, as per your understanding now, as of now, how you can move this image from this server to this server? Venkat is saying SCP. Venkat is saying SCP. Is it possible to SCP this image as is? As is. Now let's consider I have image in this server. I have image in this server. Am I able to see that image as a single file? Single file. Can I see that image as a single file? It's a layers of multiple files. It's a layers of multiple files. So how can I SCP that image? Because that image is having multiple layers. It's a layers of multiple files. I can't do SCP as is. For now, how you are doing? How you are pushing? How you are moving that image from this to this? Are you using a concept of registry as of now? It's a registry concept you are using. Now, whenever you are executing Docker push, is it pushing all the layers of that image to the registry? When you are pushing that image from here, it is being pushed. If I execute Docker pull here, in this server, if I execute Docker pull in this server, if I execute Docker pull, is it pulling all the layers of that image again from the registry? Docker pull that image, it is pulling that image layers to this one. So it is pushing the image. When we are executing Docker pull, it is pulling the image. So this is how it is being moved from one server to another server. You have done already assignment. In your Jenkins server, did you build your Docker image? In your Jenkins server as part of your pipeline, did you executed sh docker build command? That image is built in Jenkins server. So when you want to deploy that image as a container in deployment server, did you guys push that image to the registry from your Jenkins server? Then by connecting to this deployment server using some plugins, did you guys execute a Docker run that run internally pull that image to create a container? Yes. This is using registry. But in the interview, they're asking, I don't have a registry. I don't have a registry. Let's take this scenario. I don't have a registry. Then how do you move the images from one server to other server? They're saying, I don't have a registry. Does it mean in actual projects are we not at all going to use registry? In the interview, they're asking this question. Does it mean in the projects they are not at all going to use registries? It is not like that. We will use registries, but to test your knowledge, on Docker, they are asking this use case. Let's consider some use cases. You have a registry. Let's say this is public Docker hub. This is public Docker hub. This is your private server. Let's consider this is public Docker hub. This is your private server. If you don't have an internet connectivity, will you be able to pull the images from these registries? Let's consider that way. Let's consider that way. If you don't have a network internet connection to this one, will you be able to pull the images from this one? Let's say no. So let's consider if I have a NAT instance associated with this server's subnets, then again will it able to pull? If the NAT is associated with this Docker server, wherever that subnet is there, then it will pull. Let's consider they may ask a different way. This is private server. There is no NAT. There is no internet. I have image here. There is no network here. So I cannot push and pull. This is one private server. This is another private server. I created an image here and I want to move that image here. There is no network. I mean to say internet kind of stuff. They may ask this kind of questions. Then how can I do that? There are commands here. So one command is docker save. Docker save. You can use your image ID or tag -o, some name, something like this. Docker save command I can execute on that image. What this docker save command does? Docker save image tag or ID -o, some name.tar I am giving. So what this docker save command does? It is going to create a tar file. -o stands for output. -o stands for output. So this docker save command will create a tar file out of this image, which means does all the layers of that image will be packaged as a tar file now. If I execute this docker save command, all the layers of that image is packaged as one tar file. So I will have a tar file here. The moment I execute docker save command, I will have a tar file here. That tar file. If it is available as a file, tar file now, can I SCP this tar file from this system to this system? Can I SCP the tar file as is from this system to this system? I can SCP. I hope you know what is SCP, how to do SCP. I am not expecting, sir, what is SCP? You can do the SCP, right? Now, I can SCP here, but as a tar file. Then how can I load the tar file as an image here again? So there is a one more command that needs to be executed, docker load. Docker load that tar file. You created a tar file here out of that image using docker save. You SCP the tar file to this server. In this server, can I execute docker load on the tar file? So what this docker load will do? Is it going to load that image again out of the tar file? Yes. So this tar file will be loaded as an image, docker image with this command. So in simple, if I don't have a registry, how can I move images from one server to another server? In simple two-line answer, you can use docker save and also Docker load. Using Docker save and Docker load, you can move images from one server to other server. These type of questions also asked. Again, they may ask directly. They may ask directly what is Docker save and what is Docker load. They may ask whatever requirement I told. I have image in one server. There is no registry in that environment. How can I move that image from one server to another server? Indirectly, same question. So what is the answer? If I want to move images from one server to other server without registries concept, using Docker save and Docker load. Let me show that. So let's say this is my image. This is my image. Now can I save this image as a tar file using ID of this image, or this registry also I can use something like this. Image.tar. So in this server, is it creating one tar file out of that image? All the layers of that image will be created as one tar file. It is going to take some time. Let's wait. Now can I see the tar file here? Maven image.tar, that tar file. Now can I SCP this? Can I SCP this tar file to other server? Once that is there in that server, if required, let me remove all those images. I'm removing all those images just to show that. So if required, in the other server, let me execute Docker or my iPhone. Let's consider I have this tar file copied to other server. Let's consider I have copied this tar file to other server and I don't have any image. Now using this tar file, can I load the image again? If you copied this tar file to other server, like docker load -i, the tar file. Now if I execute docker load -i on the tar file, is it going to create again image out of those layers? Do you see? Is it loading the layers from the tar file now? If you see, it is loading layer like that. Is it again loaded that image? Can I see that image which is loaded out of the tar file? So can we use this docker load and docker save commands to move the images from one server to other server without registries? Yes. This is how we can use the docker save and docker load. These are like image related commands. Are we going to use all these images in our day-to-day life, day-to-day tasks if you are using Docker? No. Based on your requirement, based on your use case, whatever suits for your requirement, you can use this one. First of all, if you are not at all using Docker, you joined one project, they are not at all using Docker, they are not at all building the applications and deploying the applications as containers. They are directly doing a virtualized deployment. Do I need to worry anything about Docker? What is image? What is container? No. But if that is that application, that project, they are deploying their applications as a Docker containers. In that case, do I need to worry about, do I need to understand what is Docker, why Docker, what is image, what is container, what is registry, how Docker works? All these things are important. If you know the concept, then will you able to build images containers as per that application requirements? Yes. So this is sample Docker file. This is sample Docker file for this application. Are you going to have same Docker file content in all the projects? In your actual projects also you will copy paste as is? No. That is based on that application requirement. But if you know what is this, what is this, what is this, and what is this, will you able to implement whatever is required, whether it's a Jenkins pipeline, whether it's a Docker image. If you know the concept, you can implement as per the requirement. So that is important. Okay. Now, all these are image related comments. Now, let's understand container related comments. We already discussed few comments, container related comments. What are the comments we already discussed and we used container related comments? First, what is container? What is container? Runtime process of your Docker image. Image is what? Image is a package. Image is a package. It contains all the required softwares, dependencies, our application code, configurations, etc. Environment, configurations, all these things. So how to create image? How to create image with the help of Docker file. So what is this file? Docker file is, it's a text file using which it contains instructions. It contains instructions to create Docker image. Docker image. In simple, you can understand in simple English words also. If you by heart, it will be difficult. Now using Docker file, I can create an image. How can I share the images with other servers, other teams, any other application, any other teams? How can I share those images? Using registry concept. Registry. Central registry. So we already discussed what is registry, what is repository. In the interview also they'll ask what is difference between Docker registry and Docker repository. What is Docker registry and what is Docker repository, as we already discussed? What is registry? Registry is a collection of repositories. Registry is a collection of repositories. In registry, we can create n number of repository, and each repository can we have n number of versions, n number of versions of same artifact, same image. Examples for Docker registries. Example for Docker registries. What are the examples for Docker registries? ECR, GCR, ACR, Docker Hub, JFrog, Nexus. Can I call all these things as Docker registries in which I can create a repositories for images? Yes. Now let's understand container commands. We already discussed some commands. What this command does? What this command does? It will list all running containers. All running containers which are only running. Suppose I have some containers which are in stopped state. I mean to say, if I have some stopped containers, Does this command will display those stopped containers? No. So if I want to see running plus stopped, if I want to list all containers, it will list only running containers. If I want to list all in the sense running plus stopped, I want to see both. Then can I use this one, docker ps-a or docker container ls-a -a in the short form all? Can I use like this also, -all also? Instead of -a, can I use full form -all also like this? Yes, -a or -all. Guys, without knowing what is container, if you only know what is the command to list the container, that will be not helpful. If you know containers, what is container, then this command is nothing. So don't focus too much on the commands. Commands is also important, but at the same time, without more than this actual concept, what is container, why we need to create container, how containers can be created, that is important along with commands. Now let's say this is my build server. I think, do I have any containers here in this build server running? No. Stopped also, running plus stopped, do I have any container whether it is in running state or stopped state? No. But let me see in deployment server, maybe here. Let's see docker ps. So do I have some running containers here? How many running containers are there in this server? 2. I have only 2. Both are running. Both are in a running state. Let me stop one container intentionally. I am using docker stop to stop that container. That container is stopped. That container is stopped. Now if I execute docker ps, how many containers it is showing? Only 1. But if I want to see all, can I use this option? It is showing running container along with stopped container, both. So can I use similarly this one? Both are same. Docker container ls, docker container ls -a, both are same. So what is this docker ps? What is this ps stands for? PS is nothing but process. Docker process. Does container is nothing but a process? Does container is nothing but a process? Yes. So do we have some process running inside that container? That can be Tomcat process, that can be Node.js process, that can be Python process based out of your image. So this is how we can see the containers. Now how to create containers? How to create containers? What command? We already used that commands. Using docker run. Something like this. Guys, is it mandatory to do the port mapping or port publish for containers? Can we create a container without port publish also? Yes, we can create a containers without port publish. But if I don't do the port publish, will I able to access that container outside of Docker? No. But within Docker, does that container can be accessed by other container, other application if required within the Docker? Yes. Now this is how we can create. There are a lot of options here, guys. We will slowly understand all these options. We can use -v volumes, networks, -env or -e environment variables. We can pass environment variables to the container also using this option. We'll slowly understand all these options. Now this is one command which can be created, which can be used to create a container. If I don't use this -d, as I already told, what will happen? The container process, that container will be started in an interactive mode. If I press Ctrl C or close the terminal, does that container will be stopped? Does that does that container will be stopped? Yes. So -d detached mode. Now -name. If I don't use this name, does Docker will assign some random names or fancy names to your containers? Yes. But what is the input for your container? What is mandatory? What is required for you to create a container is image. Image. So that image can be part of that local host, or if that image is not part of that local machine, will it able to pull the image from the registry if that image is part of the registry? Yes. It will pull the image to create a container. This is one option. Sometimes in the interview they are going to ask this one also, Docker create. So what is difference? What is difference between Docker run and Docker create? So I can use Docker create also to create a container. I can use Docker create also to create a container, or I can use Docker run also. But what is the difference between Docker create and Docker run? Any guess or any idea? What is the difference between Docker create and Docker run? So what create does? It will just create a container. It will not start. It is not going to start the container. Venkat is saying Docker run equals to building image plus creating a container. Does Docker run will build the image, guys? Does Docker run will build the image? No. Docker run will not build image. To build image, we are going to use Docker build. So Docker create, it will just create a container. It will not start the container. When it comes to Docker run, what it does? It will create container and it will start container. So this Docker run is like a create plus a start. Create plus a start. This Docker run is like create plus start. Again, if I am using Docker create, if that image is not there locally, does that image will be pulled internally even though I am using Docker create? Yes. It will pull the image and create a container. But will it start the container? If I use Docker create, it will pull the image and create a container. But will it start the container? Does the process inside your container will be started? Which means, does your application will be started if you don't start your container? No. But if I use Docker run, is it going to do both create and start? Yes. Let me show that. Let me remove all these containers. You may have a question, sir, why you are removing all these containers? Can't you create few other containers in this server? Why you are deleting and showing again? Why can't you delete, why can't you create few other containers in this server? Because the resources available in this server. So what is the capacity of my instance? This instance where I am trying to create a containers. Resources 1 GB RAM and 1 core CPU. 1 GB RAM and 1 core CPU. So when I am creating a container is nothing but a process. Is that process is going to take some CPU and memory, not only storage, is it going to take some CPU and memory? Does that process will take some CPU and memory? Yes. So will I able to create hundreds of containers or tens of containers in this server where I have just 1 GB capacity? No. So sometimes in the interview also they'll ask this question. I already told. How many containers can be created in a Docker host or in a Docker server? How many containers can be created in a Docker host or Docker server? That depends on what? That depends on the system resources. If I keep creating a containers, does the server will be impacted? Does the process, I mean to say, does the Docker is also going to be impacted? The Docker process is also going to be impacted. If the server is impacted, your Docker daemon is going to be impacted. If your Docker daemon is impacted, does your containers also gets impacted? Will you able to access your applications, your containers? If this system is impacted, internally your Docker is impacted, your containers are impacted. So I don't want to that to happen. So let me demonstrate by deleting this. Now I don't have any containers, whether running or stopped. Now I am using Docker create some application. One more important point here. Will I able to do the port mapping or this port forwarding for existing container? Container is already created, but I missed to do this port publish. Will I able to do this port publish or port mapping for already existed container or running container? What I mean to say here, I have not done this port mapping initially. I have not done this port mapping initially. When I am creating or when I am running the container, I have not done this initially. Once the container is created, will I able to do this for existing containers? No. So this port mapping or port publish has to be done when? While creating a container itself. So something like this. Something like this. Now this image. Now if this image is not there locally, does this create also will pull the image from this registry, from this repository? Yes. But this time it has immediately created a container because is that image already available locally, if you see? Yes. So container is created. It is just created a container. But is my container is in running state? If you see, is container is started? No. Do you see? It has just created a container because I use Docker create. It has just created a container. But is that container, is that process started? No. So how to start this container now? Now container is in created state or stopped state. How to start this container? Again, do I need to execute Docker run now? Do I need to execute Docker run now? I expected that. So do I need to execute docker run? No. So if I execute docker run, the way I have executed docker create, again if I execute docker run, now, is it going to again create a container? Is it going to again create a container? Yes. Again it is going to create a container. But do I already have a container with this name? Do I already have a container with this name? Yes. So I already have a container. I don't want to create, I just want to start. Then what command I can use? Can I use docker start command? What is the input for docker start? What is the input for docker start? Container ID or name. Container ID or name, not image ID. So again, who is going to assign the IDs for container? Who created ID? Who generated ID for that container again? Docker daemon. But while creating a container, do I have an option to name the container using this hyphen name option? Yes. Now to start that one, can I use this command docker start this container ID or name? Yes. Now container is there, but it is not running. Now will I able to access the application? Container is there, but it is not running. Will I able to access my application now? No. That container has to be in a running state. So does this command will do that? Does this command will start that container now? Now if you see docker ps itself, now is the container is up and running from last 2 seconds, created 3 minutes ago, created 3 minutes ago using docker create, up from last 2 seconds. Now, if I use docker run, is it going to do both? Let me use another application, maybe another application. Another application. Now I am using run -d. When we are using create, do I need to use that -d option? No, because that is just going to create. It is not going to start. Since this run will start, am I using -d to start that container in a background mode? Now, this image is not there locally. Is it pulling that image and creating a container? It has created a container, and also is it started the container also? It has started the container also? Yes. So is everyone clear what is difference between docker create and docker run? Sometimes in the interview also they are asking this question. So docker start. What is docker start? What a docker start does? What this docker start does? It will start the container. Without creating a container, if I execute docker start, the container is not there. If I execute docker start, will it work? No. What this docker stop does? What this docker stop does? It will stop the container. It is going to stop, but is it going to delete the container? Does this docker stop will delete the container? No, it is just going to stop. If I want to delete the container, what command? If I want to delete the container, docker rm. If I want to forcefully remove, can I use rm-f? If I want to remove multiple containers, can I use like this? Can I use like this? Multiple containers like this. If I want to delete only stopped containers, I want to delete only stopped containers. What command can be used? I want to delete only stopped container, all stopped containers, or only stopped containers. Can I use this command which we already discussed? Docker container prune. Is it going to delete all stopped containers? Yes. If I want to delete all the containers, can I do this command? Docker ps-aq. What this docker ps will return? This docker ps-a. Let's consider docker ps-a. What this docker ps-a will return? Is it going to return all running plus stopped containers both? Yes. What is this queue? What is this queue here? What that queue does? Is it going to return only IDs? Only IDs. So these IDs are passed to docker rm -f force. So is it going to remove even though it is running, because force removal and stopped both? This way you can use. We have a few more docker comments, container related comments. I'll continue that tomorrow. I'll continue container related comments tomorrow. I'm going to start actual important concept, docker file. What is docker file? What are the instructions in docker file? Like what is from, what is this, what is this, what is this in docker file? We are going to continue tomorrow. Once we discuss with container comments, we'll start understanding about docker file instructions. Very, very important. If you observe interview questions, there are a lot of questions on this docker file also. What is difference between cmd and run? What is difference between entry point and cmd? These type of questions you might have already observed in the interview questions, whatever has been shared. You will get lot of questions on this one also. What is cmd? What is entry point? What is run? So this is very important, guys. So tomorrow we'll continue container commands. Once that is done, we are going to start docker file. So try to practice whatever has been discussed and do the assignments whatever has been given. Not only whatever has been given, you can do your assignments. Maybe can you do your assignment for Python based application also, CI/CD, Node.js based application also, CI/CD. Not only just give, doing the assignments for whatever I have given. Will you guys able to do the pipelines for that Node.js application also, build and deploy that Node.js application also as a container, build and deploy that Python based application also as a container using Jenkins? Not only just whatever I am giving, you can give, try your own requirements also, so that you can understand easily. So try to do that assignments and also practice. I'll continue tomorrow. Thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.